Hello everyone, again in Concepts in Kabbalah. Today we're going to talk about a concept which is called If I am not for me, who is for me? And this is a really confusing concept because there is like a built-in contradiction between this concept and another very a major or a prominent concept in Kabbalah, which is none else beside him, meaning that there is one force, that everything originates from it, and the goal of everything is to attain some kind of adhesion with that force, and the only force that operates every moment and decides everything is that force. And everyone is dependent on that force. So if you look at it, on one hand, there is this concept of none else beside him, of this one force, and on the other hand, something is here it works now. On one hand, we're talking about having only one force, meaning none else beside him. And as I've said, everything comes from it, everything needs to attain it or reach it, and this force is what operates in every moment. This is called that what was, what will be, and what is the same thing, okay? That's the principle of none else beside. Why do I do like this? None else beside him, okay? In initials, let's write it like this. And on the other hand, there is today's concept, which is, how would I write it? If I am not for me, who is for me? Okay? I have no better way to write it than this. And so this concept actually means that there are two in creation, right? Because there is me, or I, and there is something else that I shouldn't count on, okay? And I should only count on myself. So this seems like a very egoistic concept, that a person needs just to rely on himself, be a self-made man, and not take into consideration anything else. And as I've said, there is a big contradiction between the two. I'll add to that the source of this contradiction is actually in the question of free choice. Because if you're saying that in the end there is none else beside him, then you're talking about no free choice whatsoever. Because everything is predetermined and everything is clear, and a person can do anything actually. And if you're talking about if I am not for me, who is for me, then you're talking about some kind of free choice, because a person has some kind of say in what he's doing in the present and a certain consequence or something else in the future, okay? So you can say that this dilemma or contradiction relates to the question, or is connected to the question of free choice, okay? So this is what I want to talk about today. So before I'll answer that, you know what, maybe I'll close it or give a short answer, and then we'll go and read some stuff, okay? Okay, so what is the answer according to what we study in Kabbalah? The answer is that a person should understand that his life, or reality actually, is built from different layers of perception or recognition, and in every layer there is a complete different system of laws that operates, okay? So you can think of it something you can think of it as something similar to what we know from modern physics. So we know that on a certain layer of reality, sorry. We know that there are Newton laws, okay, that work pretty fine, pretty clear, and help explain reality in a certain way. And if you know how an apple falls from a tree and hits you in the head, you understand this reality pretty much in a clear way. But if you go deeper down the rabbit hole into a higher resolution, a different layer of reality, you actually see some kind of other laws that take place. Okay, so let's talk about quantum physics, maybe. Okay, so certainly you can talk about some kind of object that can simultaneously be in two different places, or some action that happens and changes something both in the present and the past. So you start to talk about a system of laws that is sometimes in contradiction with this mechanical Newton kind of physics. Okay, and you can talk about maybe a higher degree, that in which we talk about all of reality as one wave, okay, or things like that. So we're not even talking about particles or about something which is divided. Okay, so you can ask what is true. So, and the question is everything, that, like all the options are true, because depends on what level are you talking, okay, and what is the resolution or of the reality that you want to talk about, okay, what layer do you relate to, okay. So something very similar happens in Kabbalah as well, okay. So what Kabbalists say, and let's just divide it into two layers, because we're talking about this layer of none else beside him, and the layer of if I'm not for myself, who is for me, meaning that there are two. So Kabbalists say, yes, it is true that in the end you need to attain this level in which there is none else beside him. But as long as you're not in that, meaning as long as you see reality as having an I, some kind of self, which is divided from the world, from reality, from the creator, from others, doesn't matter, meaning there are two or even more, you cannot go around and say that there is none else beside him, because it won't help you. You can say it like a mantra or something, or like something you want to approach or aspire to or attain in the future, but you need in the current state to act in the present according to the laws that are being revealed to you. And in these laws, you cannot say, well, I'll wait here and for the Creator to help me, because anyway, everything comes from Him. So I won't do anything. I will just sit here and pray for Him and ask Him to help, and that's it. And nothing will happen, actually, because for you at the moment there is no Creator, in the sense that you don't reveal this oneness. Okay? How do you know that you don't reveal this oneness? Because you still attain a certain perception of self. And if there is a self, there are two. The self and the Creator, at least two, if not more. Because if you have this perception of self, you're perceiving everything in reality in a shattered way. Either in a higher level of a shattered reality, in which you have some kind of a sense of this oneness, but it is still shattered, or in a sense that you just picture yourself as a body going into and having apples falling you, whatever you mentioned that, okay? So to conclude this contradiction, Kabbalists actually say, well, there is no contradiction, because your free choice, or what you need to do at the moment, is act according to the law. If I'm not for me, who is for me? But not just do it egoistically in attaining money or honor or a bigger house or whatever, because that won't bring you closer to the truth or to the true recognition of the nature that we live in. Actually, it will cause you much more suffering. Okay, so you need to use this concept of if I am not for me, who is for me, only in one direction, and that is to attain none else beside him. So this is the solution to the contradiction. If I am not for me, who is for me, in attaining that there is none else beside him. And that's the only useful or efficient way to use the free choice that was given to us according to Kabbalists. Okay? And the sentence goes, anyway, the sentence, like the complete version of the sentence says that it's King Solomon, if I'm... no, actually... yeah, King Solomon in the origin, but Hillel was the one who said... yeah, if I'm not for myself, who will be for me? And being for myself, what am I? And if not now, when? Okay, so that's like, yeah, I think it's close. It's easier to say that in Hillel, that if I'm not for myself, who will be for me? And being for myself, what am I? Okay, so I need to work as if I'm not, as if no one will be for me, but in order to attain that there is no me actually, or what am I, okay, that, meaning that there is no self only and none else beside him. Okay, and the practical way actually to attain that, that there is none else beside him, is the other famous sentence of Hillel, if you want to take it, which is that you should not do to the other what is hateful for you. Okay, and this is all the Torah, meaning all the method to attain the Creator, which is concealed inside of the Torah. Okay, but this is a different concept, and we won't talk about it today. Okay, let's see if we have questions. Oksana is asking, how can I see this reality better way, more happy, peacefully, healthy, joyful, caring? Well, I cannot say that Kabbalah is really for those who want a peaceful, caring, easy way. That would be too boring for Kabbalists. But if you're asking how through an increasing contradiction and going through this roller coaster, which is called life, between attaining that there is a creator and he's the only one that operates, and there is no creator and only me and a complete emptiness, and between these 2 points, using them both as 2 legs to attain the harmony that nature created, and this harmony is built above contradiction. If you're asking how to do that, well, that's in the other sentence of Hillel, as I've said. That's actually the practical part of Kabbalah that talks about how through the relations with other you attain that there is no self and no others, only one force that operates in reality. But again, that's not what I'm talking about today. Yvette from Mexico, yeah, and Yvette from Mexico recommended you to enroll in the lessons. You have the link. It's the last link in the description box, and that will surely help you. Okay, let's see if we have more questions. From Sena, from Aldo in Ecuador, and from Joeta. Okay, so we have no questions here. So if we have no questions about this topic, let's read a bit, okay? So as I've said, this topic is very confusing for beginners who start to study, because again, it's very, or let me say like this, the egoistic interpretation of none else beside him requires me to think of the Creator as a force that will surely help me, and I need just to pray for it, and I don't need to change. I just need the Creator to change His attitude towards me, give me more luck, show me the way, give me some help, and so we have this contradiction. And actually, Kabbalists say, you know what, the Creator will never change, and it's wrong to think that or to hope for Him to change. But if you want to attain that there is none else beside Him, and if you want to attain that He is good and benevolent, you must change yourself. And in changing yourself, you shouldn't wait for the Creator, because if He will change you, then there would be no free choice. So you should relate to it that if I'm not for me, who is for me? In attaining that there is no me, or that there is none else beside Him, which is the same. Okay, so as I've said, it's not trivial. That's why we have so many questions about it. So let's read a bit. If I'm not for me, who is for me? Question: what is the meaning of the Kabbalist principle, if I'm not for me, who is for me? It seems to be so corporal, right? It seems so egoistic, like a self-made man or the American dream or whatever. Answer: a person is an egoist. There is only the ego at work inside of us. It first pushes us to do everything for ourselves, and then that same egoism, realizing that its best application is in bestowing to others, leads us to do everything for the sake of others. It follows, in any case, if not me, then who? How else can I be connected to everyone else in order to give, to work for their benefit, if not through my egoism? Nothing new happens, only the technique of applying the ego changes. Moreover, the work for others is not done for the sake of an individual, but for the sake of the whole system. When I understand that it is universal, I begin to involve myself in it, and therefore my present and my future depends only on the extent of my involvement in this system. Here, everything happens differently than in our world, where we preach, let's live together, and put everything into a common pot, while each one thinks of how to snatch from it, and whatever comes out of it is of little consequences. By studying Kabbalah, we reveal the system of nature, understanding that we exist in it completely, integrally interconnected. Okay, so this is a very big difference between Kabbalah and other methods, that in other methods we say, hey, if everything is connected, let's act as if everything is connected. And we reveal that we're egoist, and so any social system that we have in the end becomes much more egoistic, and it ends just by everybody trying to just trying to take from others, and in Kabbalah it's the other way around. We acknowledge that we're egoists, that each one is on his own, but we try from this to attain a sense of togetherness, of revealing the whole system and the connection between us. Let's do another question. How do we combine the approaches, if I'm not for me, who is for me, and there is none else beside Him? Do we act on it consecutively or concurrently? We have to act simultaneously, because we are all in one system, in which the Creator is activated by the request of a person, and the person is activated by the Creator. It follows that we are partners, but from different sides of creation. We are from the bottom, and the Creator is from the top. The system of connections between us is called the worlds. Okay? So again, this is another part of this tricky thing in attaining the system, that we always need to move from one state to the other. Okay, so again, the system of moving from one to the other is called in Kabbalah the worlds, okay, which are like buffers, and depends on what level you are, but the level determines how much more you are in if I'm not for me, who is for me, and how much more you are in none else beside Him. And every time a person attains a different part of the system, from his side or from the Creator's side, and so it can be very confusing, as we've said. Let's maybe read another one. If I'm not for myself, who is for me? Question from Facebook. What is the meaning of if I'm not for myself, who is for me? This contradicts what you always say, there is none else beside him. If we think about this, it is indeed true that if I'm not for myself, who will help me? A person needs to care for himself to the degree that he has to do in order to exist and to function normally, and all the rest for the sakes of others, but it is only after I provide myself with the basic necessities, because if there is no flour, there is no Torah. Question: where does the most important principle, there is none else beside him, fit in this equation? According to this principle, we should act as follows. I have to think only about myself to the degree that I take care of my basic necessities and not more than that, and I should give everything else to others because this is what the upper leadership obliges me to do. After all, there is none else beside him besides the upper governance, which we are subordinate to and should fulfill all its conditions in order to properly exist. Okay, so this is another way of dividing the equation, not like there is the part of the ego and the sorry, you don't see it. Like there is the part of the ego and the part of the creator, but you can say, okay, there is like the basic needs or the corporal needs in which I need to take care of myself, and in the part that I need to take care of the others, I need the creator actually, because there is nothing I can give to others. So I need to pray and reveal that there is none else beside him in the connection to others, meaning in my spiritual realization. We can say another thing, that in both cases, both in taking care of myself in my necessity and in connecting to others, in both cases a person should act like there is none else beside me, and in both cases he will reveal that he can help himself to a certain extent, and from that extent he will need to pray, meaning attain that there is none else beside him. Again, tricky in all dimensions, but that's life. Let's see if we have questions. Who can be my partner in making my reality? Anyone? No, actually, you need to find others who share the same goal as you. Otherwise, if you try to attain the creator, and for that you want to play as if you're above your ego, and you try to do that with people who are inside their ego, not even aware of that, not even even unconsciously acting like that, they will just use you, and you'll be hurt, and you won't attain that goal that you aspire to. So better search for people who share the same goal as you to attain spirituality, and that they agree to work according to the same principle, meaning the same rules of the game, what Kabbalists gave us, and so you can attain that reality with them. Otherwise, you will be acting according to specific game rules, and they will be acting according to a different rules, because they're playing a completely different game. And in that, you will just experience failure and blame towards reality. And that is because you chose the wrong partners. Could you explain the need of acting and the state of being? Is acting required to own our actualizations in the form of practice? Yes, because look, in being, there is no free choice. Meaning, in being, you just exist like an animal, like the rest of the universe. So if you want to realize your free choice, meaning if you want to realize correctly the ego that was given to you, the ego can only be realized in acting, because you don't sense yourself without acting on the world. Even everything in your senses, you're acting on the world in order to see you block the light. In order to hear, you block the sound. Like, you can say even differently that any being is a certain level of acting in this world. But in spirituality, you don't exist if you don't act, because you need all the time consciously to rise above your default state, above your state of being, because your state of being is an egoistic state, and you need to overcome that nature. So I hope that's clear. But it's a very complicated question. Okay. Shalom from Las Vegas. Using if I'm not for me, etc., to attain none else, is this talking about restriction? Yes, you can say that it's a restriction of the intention, because I'm used to work for myself in order to attain stuff for myself, and I'm saying no, I will work in 100% of my energy and ability, but in order to contribute to the system, to attain the creator. That's something different. What is the use of this if in general application it provides failure and blame? I'm not sure that I understood you. What is the use of this if in general? Like, what is the use of the application of the ego if it brings you to failure and blame? Maybe that's what you're asking. Well, you have nothing else. Like, the only thing that you're being given is ego, so you need to advance somehow. And also in our life, in corporate life, how do you advance if not through failures? So it's not like in 100% of the time you're successful. Because in many cases we learn much more from failure than from success. From success it's very hard to learn. So maybe you're asking why is this process the way it is, but this is a very deep question that I don't have the time now to talk about. Why do we advance in a way that it's like a dialectical process, meaning that every time you go up and you go down, you have like 2 steps back, or 1 step back, 2 steps forward in the good case. In the worst case, it's the other way around. So why is that the way? I'll say one sentence about it, because we don't have time, but it's like a whole topic. The reason is that reality is already perfect, and we are in a perfect state, in a complete state, and the only thing which is lacking is a deficiency. There is a very nice allegory, a story of Baal Sulam, look it up in Google, about a friend that meets his other friend, which is a king, and he asks him for help, and then the king sends him to this treasure room, and he gives him this small box, because that's what he knows, only this small box. He cannot imagine anything else, because he's a simple man. And every time he fills this box and he want to get out of the treasure room with it, the servant kicks him and the gold falls, and so he needs to go again and again and again, and only in the end he realizes that everything that he picked through it is his, and he just didn't have a bigger vessel. But again, that's a deep concept. Google it up, and maybe we'll touch base on that or expand on that in the future meetings, if you remind me. Okay, so we didn't do the third link, which has like another Q&A about this topic, so you can click it and read it on your own. It's pretty straightforward. So that's it for now. Stay safe, stay home, stay healthy, and hopefully we'll meet next Sunday, if nothing will change or get worse with this quarantine and everything. Okay, take care, people. Thank you very much, and have a nice day, a nice evening wherever you are in the world.